Welcome, everybody, to the Made by Google live event coverage here on CNET. I'm Brian Cooley with Lexy Savvides.
Good morning.
Good morning. And today we're going to be diving into all of Google's new product announcements, which, a few years ago, Made by Google maybe wasn't that big a deal. This wasn't a company so known for hardware. In the last 2 years, they've really become credible as a maker of a lot of interesting products, particularly around voice, smart home, and, of course, the phone. That's our number one headline today.
The Pixel. Now, we know so much about this phone. I feel like I said this last year at the Pixel 3 launch event because I believe that was the most leaked phone that we had ever covered.
Leaked phone, good.
Leaked phone, but I think the Pixel 4 might just take the cake. We've seen everything from full-on renders to Google themselves actually putting out images of the phone.
Oh, okay, they're playing the self-leak game.
Yeah,
if this was a boat, it would be capsizing right now. This is taking on water everywhere. This event's coming out of New York City. It's starting at 7 a.m. Pacific time, 10 o'clock Eastern. And so we're here early on the West Coast, but we've got a huge team at the event at Hudson Yards in Manhattan. We've got Lynn Law, Scott Stein, Roger Chang, Jessica Dolcourt, Rich Nieva from CNET News, a lot of names you know well, so we're well covered on the ground. And momentarily, we're going to be catching up with our senior editor, Ayaz Akhtar, who's going to be joining us from the ground, and he'll be Skyping in live to give us a scene setter and a flavor. But, Lexi, we are definitely leading with phone here, right?
Absolutely. And I should mention, if you have questions about today's event or anything you want to ask us and to discuss, the hashtag on Twitter is CNET Live. So please send us questions, and we'll get to as many as we can during the show. CNET Live. So yeah, phones is really the agenda for today. Well, in fact, there are other devices, of course, as you mentioned. There potentially might be a new Google Home, even though they're rebranding. So I believe Google is kind of in the transition between Nest and Google. And so I'm interested to sort of see what is announced there. We also, just this morning, I believe I saw a leak on 9 to 5 Google, which has pretty much been the source of many of the leaks of a Nest Wi-Fi. So I believe that might be on the cards too. But let's take a look at some of the potential things with the Pixel 4. Now, obviously, the Pixel 3 was, it had a lot of problems, but it also had a lot of great things to it. The camera in particular was fantastic. In terms of things that I would like to see Google improve on the Pixel 4, a bigger battery, because the Pixel 3 was just not a great battery, at least on the regular 3 size. The XL was a little better with a large capacity. I would like to see a better battery. I'd like to see a better screen. We're seeing some rumors about that 90 hertz refresh rate. So I'm excited to see if we see some details about that. And
I'll be interested to see how they position 90 hertz refresh, if that's indeed a feature. It's kind of a tough one to communicate. Most phone buyers are not going down to the carrier store or to the Google store and saying, I want to make sure I get 90 hertz refresh. They don't even know what that means.
No.
Sure, people who are into CNET, they'll know that. Most of them will. But I wonder if that's going to have any tie-in to mobile gaming and have any tie-in from there to Stadia. Or is that too much of a reach? I don't know.
I think it definitely would be laying the groundwork. However, we've seen a couple of other phones this year with 90 hertz. And so it's becoming standard in the Android world, like OnePlus and the 7 Pro and 7T, I believe, are 90 hertz. So I think there's definitely interest there. And I think if you're ahead of the curve, you're like, I want that 90 hertz refresh rate. I actually haven't used a phone yet with 90 hertz. So I don't really have the experience. But from what I can tell, it's really, really fluid in terms of the experience on the screen, scrolling, things like that.
Yeah.
Which
is nice. It's one of the things you don't notice until you have a higher refresh rate. You've never noticed that your phone is slightly flickery, slightly laggy, kind of that little slant that it gets when you move really fast. You don't perceive it until you don't perceive it.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm interested to hear what you have to say, Brian, because you are a Pixel owner, user every
Long
day
time,
since the first gen, right?
Yeah.
Or were you Nexus as well before that?
What was I? I don't remember what I was before this. It's been so long. But I've been Pixel for a long time. What are you carrying these days?
Well, pretty much. I'm platform agnostic. Right now I have obviously a work phone, which is an iPhone. I'm using the Galaxy Note 10, which I have been really, really enjoying. Galaxy S10 Plus, as lots of other phones in the portfolio.
Yeah, you've always got to have a portfolio because
gonna have a
constantly
whole
reviewing
drawer
them.
of them, yeah.
Right. Now, since I don't do phone reviews, I get the luxury of carrying basically one phone. I got a work phone, which is a Galaxy S8, I think. I don't even know. Everything looks alike these days. And then I've got a 3A because I'm like those everyday Google customers out there. Yeah, I want good performance, but I also, because we buy our own gear when it comes to our own personal stuff. There's no freebies at CNET. This is something that I pay for, and, this is good enough at a great price. So I identify with that trend, while there's also the appreciation that I have for the ultimate performance. But when it's my money, good enough is good enough. I think we've got Ayaz with us from New York City. Ayaz, Akhtar, can you join us here now?
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to New York. Google's got their crazy event. I'm going to show you around. I'm going to turn the camera around. Hopefully you can see stuff. I hope you can hear me because it's super loud.
We got you clear.
Awesome. So I'm going to switch the camera so you can take a look at the stage area. There's lots of seats. And let's go ahead and turn that around. So you can see there's lots and lots and lots of seats for lots and lots of people. The line was packed outside. There's only the thing I kept hearing everybody say, we really hope Google has a surprise, since everything about the Pixel 4 seems to have leaked already. We're all very curious if there's any software tricks or anything else that Google could show us that we haven't seen already.
Now, you're at the, just to give folks a little fix on where you are, because these events are as much about the event and wishing you were there as much as they are about the products that come out of them. You're at the Shed, I understand.
Yes. I don't know if you've seen the newest New York area, which is the Hudson Yards. It's a very, very famous, expensive development. I don't know if you can see it outside the window. It's that giant, I forget what they call it, but everyone calls it the shawarma around here. It looks like a big honeycomb kind of thing. And it's kind of a tourist trap at this point. So this is a really big area at this point, and Google likes to have events around here. So do a lot of other companies. A lot of great event space. But you know what? Subways don't really come here so easily. So a lot of people got lost this morning.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that layout there. That is where the actual event's taking place, or is that a pre-staging room?
This is where the event will be taking place. I'm going to try to walk you towards the stage. Why not?
I mean, that looks kind of low-key to me. That's one small screen. I mean, compared to going to the Apple campus where you're surrounded by immersion, this is kind of like, doing a PowerPoint in a conference room.
Yeah, this is a bit larger than the last time they had a Pixel event. So I will say that the event space, if I step back here, this is how big the event space was last time. But now we have this whole other section in the back for all these reserved partners and everything. And there's also a secondary area up there.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, there's the luxury box.
It's a bigger venue, and they also have a little bit more stuff going on stage with these shelves. So probably some Google Home products or Nest products, whatever they're going to call it, because they keep messing with the branding.
Yeah, now Google likes to do these sort of setups at the big trade shows anyway, where they kind of build a home and they litter it with shelves full of their products and kind of show them in location. So how much are you seeing there in terms of what's on the stage? Does it look like they're going to have a strong home flavor as well as phone?
Well, they have a carpet.
Okay.
That's homey. I'm getting as close to the stage as I can. Let's see if they get rid of me. Hang on.
They got the requisite IKEA furniture. There you go, right on.
Here's the stage. We're right on the stage, and they're gonna.
Well done.
Nobody's noticed me yet, so.
Are you going to start giving the presentation? I feel, Ayaz. You're so close. You're good.
Should I walk across the stage, guys?
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, come on.
Do it.
Why not?
You can only get ejected once.
Yes.
And then we'll have no one on scene. There he is.
Yay!
Yes.
Yeah, so the stage is nice. It's soft.
Is that security back there? Is that guy about to ace you? No, not him. He's no threat.
I mean, I'm only wearing a bright yellow jacket. Nobody saw me, right? Nobody saw me at all.
You look like you're security.
Yeah, I belong here. That's right. So the stage, there's not a heck of a lot yet. There is supposed to be core chords and things, just things for texture. If you do set decoration, you're like, oh, yes, pretty. But otherwise, there's not a heck of a lot up here yet.
Do we know anything more about the flow of events, or it's just basically a black box? Keynote coming at 10, be here.
No, don't know a heck of a lot. And I'm walking against the stage again, because nobody stopped me yet. So, I'm just expecting the phone, the laptop. A lot of the stuff's been leaked, but there's no agenda that they handed out ahead of time.
Okay.
Ayaz, what do you think is the potential? Seeing as we've seen so many leaks, and obviously you've covered pretty much all of them on Alphabet City, I'm interested to know, what do you think? Can Google pull something out of the bag? Do they have their sort of one more thing? Do you think?
Yeah, I think. My microphone. Yeah, I think they definitely can come up with something, especially with the software side of it. The hardware, we've seen some of those demos that Google sent their own videos out for look, you don't touch the screen kind of thing. But I would assume that a lot of it would be about experience. So if the phone itself can provide a lifestyle improvement, that's what we're going to see. Because there's rumors that Google Assistant will get smart enough to the point where it can be on hold for you when you're waiting for a call to go through. So I think that's really what we're going to see. The hardware itself seems like it's already known, but the software side, I think that's where the surprises may lie.
Well, this gets into a lot of the talk lately is about what technology can do beyond the device, beyond the explicit actions you take with software. What can it do to anticipate your needs more? I mean, that's kind of the next big picture vanguard in the tech we carry, the tech in the cloud, the interaction between the two is to get past giving people a lot more things they can do. And on top of that, have technology do things for you, kind of front run your needs, kind of anticipate to a small way. So I'll be looking for that a lot in the trend today. Is what is Google doing to make it sort of more hands-off, more anticipatory?
Yeah, the amount of AI and the amount of research Google has done in that field is head and shoulders above a lot of other companies. And so the idea that they would know what you want, I mean, assume that you have Gmail and use their calendar and all this other stuff. They can anticipate your needs in ways that other companies couldn't. Maybe Amazon comes close, Facebook comes close, but when it comes to the terms of research, Google's just way, way ahead.
Yeah, and I know that's that sword that cuts two ways. The companies that are best at anticipating are all the best at the creep factor. You know, I mean, they know when I leave in the morning. They know from my calendar, my GPS, my various requests through Google Assistant in the last 18 hours. They know that I'm going to work with a high degree of confidence. Not he's going somewhere. They know exactly what I'm doing before I do it or as I do it, and that's great. Except it's a little weird. Or it
I'm
can
making
be.
my way back to my seats. You can see CNET people. Look, it's Sarah too. Nick Henry.
There's Nick. Right
Hi,
on.
friends.
Plenty of coverage. Hello from California.
We got a vast CNET contingent there.
Oh yeah, lots of people here from our team.
Okay, excellent. All right, anything else that is on your mind that you're looking for in terms of either outliers? Well, what would you say? Is there any long shot rumor that you have in mind that you would be skeptical of seeing it and blown away if it arrives?
I've heard rumors of a watch, but I don't see that coming. I don't know when Google's going to go ahead and pull the trigger on that, because Wear OS right now I still think is an afterthought for the company. I was talking to some people at Google who I cannot tell you who they are, but they have a Wear OS watch, and they said it's not terrible. And I think that's a terrible attitude.
Okay,
so
there's
I'm
an
hoping
endorsement.
That maybe they could actually put some of that pixel magic on a wristwatch.
They have the Pixel Buds have been, I think, kind of a relatively low-key.
Yeah, they were
product.
low-key, but when they launched, I think 2 years ago, they were the talk of the town, you know, translate in your ear.
Right.
I don't know if as you've used the Pixel Buds, but I remember having a quick hands-on with the first gen, and I was just like, wow, the potential here. But then I feel like it kind of just lost a lot of steam, and in terms of uptake, I don't think I've ever seen anyone wear the Pixel Buds,
Right.
in San Francisco at least, and we're a very tech town. So
Yeah.
I don't know, you think we have a Pixel Buds potentially on the horizon? I'd like to see it, but I don't know about you, Ayaz. What do you think?
There's definitely a chance to make it a little smaller, a little neater, the Pixel Buds, but I think one of the reasons why the Pixel Buds fell off of people's radar is that it didn't really do the translating on the device. It was just essentially a headset for Google Assistant, so it was like, oh, that's not as cool as everyone thought, because you could just do it without the Pixel Buds. Also, the comfort levels on the Pixel Buds, not exactly the best. The ergonomics, not the greatest. But if Microsoft can come up with those dish plates for your ears, I think Google can figure out a different style.
Yes, the flying saucers in the ears.
The saucers in the
Love
ears.
those.
And I suspect we can say that Amazon has raised the bar a little bit on Buds with the new Alexa ones that are still pending. That are going to have, if I recall correctly, they'll offer you support for multiple voice assistants, which I think is a very mature, grown-up position as opposed to saying our earbuds connect with our voice assistant. The new Alexa Buds, I believe, will let you reach out to the competitors' assistants. And that maps to the fact that a lot of people are ambidextrous about, or tridextrous, if that's a word, about their voice assistants. Most people, I think, from most studies, use at least 1.5, if not 2 or 3 voice assistants. And so I think it'd be good to see Google recognize that in some way, although that's asking a lot.
Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, Google could be its own skill on Alexa if they had the temerity to do that. But they definitely want to stay integrated with their hardware, because Google Home products now, with Nest fully being integrated, I think they're going to finally have a proper, streamlined approach where they can have an all-in-one. Will they ever open up to Amazon stuff, maybe, but I mean, Assistant is, in my opinion, a lot better, other than for shopping. There's nothing that beats Alexa for that.
Oh, good point. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good line to draw. Lexi, what's your experience with Google Nest products? Do you use any of them? Have any of them?
Well, it depends. Are we talking about Nest? Are we talking about Home? Like I said, I'm so confused about what Google's calling them. I mean, yeah. I hope that finally we get some sort of clarification of what we should be calling these devices, because I think the conversation is now more about like, what do I call this, as opposed to what can it do. Yeah. So hopefully that will be resolved, and then we can see some more innovation there. I mean, obviously Google's been, quite good with all of their smart home devices in terms of like the Mini, the Max, which I actually quite liked the sound quality from the Google Home Max, which I think is now called the Nest Home Max. I don't know. As you probably know better what it's actually called, but you're right. Yeah. But I definitely think that, it's going to be interesting to see like how they continue, as Ayaz was talking about, trying to use all of the resources in terms of AI and the data that they have in order to make it much more of a useful part of your everyday life. So I was actually at a friend's house on the weekend, and we were playing with Google Assistant and just trying to change the voice and sort of try and, trick it, the things that you do late on a Friday night when you sort of like, I'm not going to go out.
After a couple three.
Yeah. You're like, well, what can I do? I'm going to try and prank my assistant. So
of course.
It's just interesting though, because the nuances there, Google's been actually pretty good about getting the international flavor quite well, because we obviously in the US we're focused on how does it work for us, does it understand our voices. I mean, I have an Australian accent, but it gets me fine, but in terms of the nuances from other cultures and other countries, it's actually Google's actually quite good. We tried a couple of different regions and a couple of different languages, and it was actually quite funny, the responses that they gave us. They were actually pretty with a cultural understanding behind
following the vernacular you were throwing
absolutely
at it.
Exactly. So I was surprised about that. So I'm just always intrigued to see what they're going to have. Even though I'm not the biggest smart home fanatic, I will happily admit that. My house is a very dumb home, but I am very happy to see what is going to come in that space, for sure.
Yeah, and as Ayaz points out, they are so focused on Assistant. That's got to be, aside from phone, that's got to be the main thread through everything else, would be my guess, because that glues everything together and keeps you really bound to Google as a system and keeps you on their hardware, and more importantly, it keeps you on their services where the revenue really lives. One of the things I wanted to ask you about, Ayaz, is your contacts at Google that you talk to all the time as part of your show, do they give you any feeling for how much they are invested now in home versus mobile versus automotive with Android Auto? Do you get a feel for which of those is priority number one, or are they, as everyone will say, they're all important?
Well, the Android team is split up between like Android Core, which is stuff on phones, and then there's Android, it's not other, but it's essentially other, which includes Android Auto and Android TV and those other offshoots. So I think the thing that you brought up, Brian, is that Assistant really is the thing that goes through every single piece of software and hardware. And one of the bigger things that Google announced at I/O this year was Assistant being able to work on device without a network connection. And I think that's also what makes Google hardware important and Assistant super important, is that if you can actually access all of this knowledge base without a network connection, Google's hardware becomes so much more important. So I think Assistant is the common thread at this point because it flows through every single product they have.
And while you bring up a good point, referencing Google I/O, let's make it clear for our viewers how I/O differs from Made by Google. So I/O is about the software, the cloud, and for developers, and this show is more about things you can buy retail. Is that a fair way to cleave it?
That's a very fair way to put it. Usually I/O, your main people you're talking to are the developers, and how you could work with Assistant, what apps you can make with the new Android, all of these courses where you can learn how to make the best apps. Here, we should be seeing devices that you can buy probably this year. The places that started to fill up, and I turned the camera around, this was all empty when we started this call, and now it's starting to fill up. So yeah, today we should be seeing products that you should be able to buy, hopefully relatively soon.
Okay. All right, Ayaz, I think we're in good shape. I want to let you get to your seat and get settled in. I know you got to get down to work there at the show. We're going to take it from here. We've got about 10 minutes to go. We've been talking to Ayaz Akhtar. He's live at the Shed in Hudson Yards. The Made by Google event is kicking off in just about 10 minutes here, Lexi. We've been talking a lot about phone, obviously, and some of the offshoots. Let's run down everything else that we think might happen. What is our rumor hot list that we haven't covered so far?
Sounds good. All right. So we have had the phone, obviously.
Yep.
We had the potential Nest Mini, Nest Home, Google Nest,
So a new
etc.
smart speaker.
Potentially, yes.
Okay.
We've also seen an orange color for the Pixel 4.
Okay, stop everything. There's a new color.
Oh, wow. I mean, this is pretty much confirmed. We've seen, we've seen hints from Google. We've seen some marketing materials. We've even seen influencers out there on the town showing off their orange Pixel 4s potentially.
Okay.
So we're pretty sure that that's going to be a thing. We know that the square on the back is going to potentially have at least 2 cameras, as opposed to the single camera on the Pixel 3.
So there's a look now if you're watching our stream. That's interesting. They've kind of obscured the lenses where Apple really makes them stand out as circles. And this may sound trivial, but it really does either shout the phone's abilities or not. I think with Apple making the lenses discrete, it really says, I've got 3 cameras in a Pro.
Yeah.
That little square bump, I think maybe kind of buries the story a little bit and says, yeah, the cameras are back in here.
It's a little incognito. But
It kind of is, yeah.
But, Google has never been... The thing is, the rationale behind the single camera on the Pixel 3, because over time, over the past few years, many other companies have started to move to dual cameras and now triple cameras, and even quadruple cameras on the case of something like the Huawei phones. However, Google has always said that the real reason behind having that single camera is because it's so good. Why would you need multiple cameras when the Pixel 3's camera is so good? And it is fantastic. It's a great, great camera.
It is.
But now, obviously, moving to a dual camera, potentially maybe a third camera. I think it's probably going to be a dual camera on the back of the Pixel 4.
Okay.
It's Google maybe taking a little bit of a step back going, okay, people want more than one camera. They want multiple perspectives. I'm interested to see if it's going to be a wide-angle lens, like the ultra-wide-angle that is the current trend right now, or if it's going to be a 2x telephoto zoom.
Yeah.
Because that's going to make all the difference. So I know which side I'm on.
I want both. I mean, there are times, maybe
yeah.
10% of the time, 80% of the time, the standard lens works for me. 10% of the time, I want to zoom in with optical quality. And 10% of the time, I need just something wider because my arm's not long enough. And but those are outlier cases to me. I'm pretty good with this, what standard, width of view, whatever a typical phone has. It works really well. And to your point, Google tends to do more with computational photography, or at least that's what they say, saying, well, we have a great single sensor, and we can, crop in and get that telephoto effect well. We can deprocess out the noise from doing that, so it's a clean telly, even though we don't really necessarily have a telly lens or a super wide, but you can't fake super wide. If you don't capture a wide image, you don't have it.
That's the thing.
So that's why I think they may go wide if they go anywhere.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assumption. Even though the super res zoom on the Pixel 3 just keeps getting better.
I know.
Excuse me. It's crazy. You go and you're like, digital zoom is terrible. I hate digital zoom. And then you use it and you go, actually, it's really good.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited. I mean, obviously, as you mentioned, computational photography is the Pixel's big strength, and we've seen all the other manufacturers, including Apple, really step up their game to try and match what the Pixel can do. And because the iPhone 11 Pro has such a good camera, it's really got its work cut out for it, the Pixel 4, to really make it stand head and shoulders above the rest as the camera king or queen, whatever you want to call it, because there's a couple of rumored modes that I think might give it the advantage. There's this potential Astro Photography mode that is very interesting to me. We've seen a couple of sample photos, as you can see here on the screen now, from 9to5 Google, which has pretty much been one of the biggest leak sources, which has been great for us because we get to see ahead of time what we're getting. The photos look fantastic, and those are the selfie photos that you can see there. I don't know if this display shows them to their truest potential, but when you look at it on a really nice display, they pop off the screen. Really good definition and sharpness. There's some good freezing of motion, so there's no motion blur, especially in that one with the dog.
Yeah.
And night mode, which is obviously the Pixel's big
It's
strength.
crazy good.
Crazy good.
No
See in the
noise.
dark good.
It's unbelievable.
Very good.
And having had this phone for a number of months now, that's the only thing that still surprises me.
Yeah.
Phones become dial tone very quickly. They all do everything pretty well, but that night mode constantly surprised me. It's like, wow, does it really do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
This picture of the stars at night, that is impossible to do on any other phone.
That's impossible to do on a DSLR.
Oh, it's possible.
Not well.
Well,
I mean,
You
that's
gotta have a
good.
super lens.
yeah,
or
you've
something.
got to have the right. Well, you'd have the patience to do that on a DSLR.
Right.
Let's be honest. That's
Sit it down, mount it up,
couple of hours work.
lift the
probably, to
mirror,
get
do it
some
right.
good
But
stuff,
here,
yeah.
snap, phone gets it.
I know. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they
right.
do. There's a lot of competition.
To wrap up our other devices that we think may be coming, you mentioned the Nest Google Home Nest Mini, whatever, how many words they want to jam into the name of that thing. But a new volume leader speaker, which would be obviously the smallest, cheapest one, is where the vast majority of the volume goes in any of the smart speakers right now, as it should. I find the smart speaker market a little puzzling, so I'll be looking to see how they can make it more. And here's why: because we've been carrying smart speakers forever. Our phones are exactly that. And especially when you compare this to a small smart speaker, there's very little difference in audio quality. There's some, but it's not huge. Not a huge difference in microphone quality. Some, but not huge. And it's a puzzling market. Yet we buy these things by the millions. And we've always had one in our pocket. It's very strange. Like, you've already got a small smart speaker, and yet we go buy them because buying an individual device it represents a behavior, and we start to think about using it, where here, we never thought to use voice that much.
Right.
But then we bought a speaker and suddenly started using it. Well, you already had it. Now, when you buy a big smart speaker, you get great audio. I get that. So that's a reason to have a redundancy with this. But the small speakers intrigue me as being kind of a strange market. I've got several of them. I don't quite know why.
Dotted around the house. You know, I've got plenty of them. I just never use them. They just sit in their boxes. And I go, great, another one. I'm not doing anything with it.
Because they keep making them so cheap or sending them to, I mean, every time I buy something Google, they send me another free speaker. I've got a stack of them in the garage that are still in the shrink wrap.
So much stuff happening. Okay, so apparently Ayaz has just said that Martha Stewart is at the event today in the audience. So,
in the audience, okay.
So what
she just wants to see what's new. She's not backstage. She says, "Oh, hey, I'm one of the landlords here. I should go down and see what this is all about. What are they doing in my building?" You also mentioned something that came and I went. I don't want to leave it behind. A Nest Wi-Fi router rumor.
Yes.
This is getting kind of wonky by a lot of people's standards. Most people don't find a Wi-Fi router really interesting to play with. What do we think that might involve?
Well, again, we have another leak. I mean, obviously the first Nest, Google Wi-Fi. I forgot if that was the real name of the product, but
it's got to be 4 words or it can't be real. So Google Nest Mesh Wi-Fi thing, thing. Good.
Yeah. So I mean, it had a really good design. It was highly functional. I know a lot of people that actually put them in their homes.
This was their Mesh Wi-Fi product.
Yeah, it's the product, and it was it had that pulsating status light that changed color and changed status. So it was a really nicely designed device, and I think it was, for me at least, the first time that I thought that Google's industrial design team was really on the money in terms of a good-looking device. And it just makes sense that this is just the next iteration. It's the next version. In terms of actual improvements, I'm looking at what the leaks say. It looks like, USB-C. The original Google Wi-Fi had micro USB, I believe. More compact. There's a microphone mute switch on the Wi-Fi point. So, there's a lot of things. Again, how excited do you get about routers and mesh networking systems? Points. I mean,
we want them to work, but I don't know that they're not really high touch to me. I just want the thing to. I got my mesh Wi-Fi devices at home. I think I've got Orbi. Once I set it up, I don't want to see it. It literally is behind books in the bookcase, which isn't great for dispersion, but I don't want to see the thing.
Exactly.
I sure don't want to see lights. I don't want to talk to the damn thing. I got lots of microphones. We're getting ready to go to the event. Again, if you're just joining us now, and a lot of people are coming on right as we're a few minutes away, about 2 minutes away from the Made by Google event. You can see it right there. That is the Shed at Hudson Yards in New York City. We've got about 6 of our CNET people that I know of who are there in the audience, including Ayaz Akhtar, who is there and just finished up a good lengthy debrief with us, largely on Pixel 4, which we expect through one of the leakiest rumor cycles in recent memory. Before we go, I think and go live to the event, the thing that I think is the most interesting outlier here is the speculation in some way that Google's formerly known as Project Soli might come out to an actual product, and this is their high-resolution gesture control driven by millimeter wave radar that could be built into the phone, emitting a radar signal where your hand could be just a few inches away, and when you want volume or you want to scroll or you want to turn something, you just do these very small hand movements, not this big extravagant gesture that so much gesture has been so far, to really make it fine and nuanced. A lot of companies are working on this core technology, but most of them are not phone makers. Texas Instruments, a bunch of other guys that are suppliers. So I'll be fascinated to see if they can make a breakthrough in gesture, because gesture has been to me, just a joke so far.
Yeah, it's been a hard thing to get people excited about, because if you think about gesture control, you go, okay, well, as you said, you think of these broad sweeping gestures you have to make with your arms flailing around. Yeah. But the demo, I mean, this has been in the works for a while for Google. At I/O, I think it was 2016, that they showed off a demo of it working on a watch, and it was just very subtle gestures of just clicking fingers and moving like little tiny minute movements of the hands and fingers just to get actions to work. It's very cool. It's
really cool.
You know, we know it's coming on the Pixel 4. There was a video about, you know, Project Soli / and the face unlock, et cetera, that Google put out. So potentially there's connections there. Okay. You know, it's going to be really intriguing to see if this is something that can compete in terms of, I guess, mind share with how, you know, Apple has basically made Face ID ubiquitous in terms of the secure face unlock, to see if this is going to be as secure, if it's going to be as recognized as something that people are going to use face unlock instead of a fingerprint or instead of a pin, to see if this is something to shift the Android world. I mean, Android's been there for a long time, but in terms of actual secure face unlock, you know, it's not been it's not been that developed. I mean, Samsung has had Face Unlock, although it's not used for authentication for anything like mobile payments, because it's not secure enough. Yeah. It's just an unlock. There was iris scanning on the Samsung line for a while, but then they took that away on the Note 10, which was a shame, because I know a lot of people really love that iris scanning. So it's gonna be interesting to see if, you know, this becomes a trendsetter for the rest of the Android world to sort of start incorporating more into their devices.
And in the big picture, and the more parties I talk to in finance and in health at various industry events and such, they really love this to go beyond unlock, of course, beyond even financial transactions, but to become a universal identifier. I think we are just about teeing up the event. Let's go live now. I think we're kicking it off. This is the Made by Google event. This has been your live coverage pre-show as we go to the Shed, Hudson Yards, New York City, for live coverage from CNET.
I'm not necessarily designing this for myself. I'm designing for people out there that really could use an assistant in their home.
There's a lot of sensors and processors and machine learning, things that are uniquely Google.
When you combine the ultimate piece of technology and something so human, that's where magic happens.
This vision to me is really compelling, because we can create a new generation of products that are truly helpful.
It helps you from the background rather than the foreground. And your foreground is your life.
Big picture, what's the end game? It's about making it easier every day. Making what easier? Life. Making life easier. Yes. Let's take a look. Here we go. Good morning. Good morning. Thanks so much for joining us here in New York City, and for those on the live stream for joining us around the world. Thanks so much. We're going to spend the next hour talking about the problems we're working to solve for our users and the ways we're delivering help for the way people need it when they need it. We'll also take you into our labs with writer and cultural commentator Baratunde Thurston to hear from the folks at Google who personally develop, design, and bring these products to life. Now, if you look across all of Google's products, from search to maps, Gmail to photos, our mission is to bring a more helpful Google for you, creating tools that help you increase your knowledge, success, health, and happiness. Now, when we apply that mission to hardware and services, it means creating products like these. New Pixel phones, wearables, laptops, and Nest devices for the home. Each one is thoughtfully and responsibly designed to help you in your everyday without intruding on your life. Now, in the mobile era, smartphones changed the world. It's super useful to have a powerful computer everywhere you are. But it's even more useful when computing is anywhere you need it, always available to help. Now, you heard me talk about this idea with Baratunde, that helpful computing can be all around you, ambient computing. Your devices work together with services and AI, so help is anywhere you want it, and it's fluid. The technology just fades into the background when you don't need it. So the devices aren't the center of the system, you are. That's our vision for ambient computing. The Google Assistant plays a critical role here. It pulls everything together and gives you a familiar, natural way to get the help you need. Our users tell us they find the Google Assistant to be smart, user-friendly, and reliable. And that's so important for ambient technology. Interactions have to feel natural and intuitive. Here's an example. If you want to listen to music, the experience should be the same, whether you're in the kitchen, you're driving in your car, or hanging out with friends. No matter what you're doing, you should just be able to say the name of a song and the music just plays without you having to pull out a phone and tap on screens or push buttons. So think about how this vision plays out in the home, where ambient technology can make life so much easier. When you wake up in the morning, your home knows what you need to start your day. You can get your commute, find out when your first meeting starts, maybe play some music on whatever speaker or screen is nearby. And when you leave your house, your lights, thermostat, door locks, security cameras, they all just know what to do. And your devices go silent and turn off notifications at night when you want to relax without technology interrupting or distracting you. So throughout your home, technology works as a single system instead of a bunch of devices doing their own thing. Now we can bring this ambient computing vision to gaming as well. With Stadia, our new generation cloud gaming platform, we're aiming to deliver the best games ever made to almost any screen in your life. So I'm excited to share an update with y'all. Stadia will be available on November 19th. So you'll be able to play games wherever you want, on your TV, your laptop, even your Pixel, which will be the first phone to support Stadia when it launches. We're also creating a few areas to create more human interactions with technology, like motion sense and the new Google Assistant for Pixel 4. So instead of being glued to your phone, you can use quick gestures and voice commands and then get back to your day. That push for quicker, more natural interactions is leading us in new hardware directions too, extending the phone's capabilities in new ways. Let's take a look.
This is clearly a time machine, and you're pretending you're using it to test earbuds. That's a great cover story. Right, left, up, down. Hello.
Hi.
Isabel, I know you and your team led the design for the earbuds.
We really wanted it to just be a simple, tiny little dot floating in your ear. What is a simpler form than a circle? And how insanely tiny can we make it? Because there's like 2 computers in here.
These are floating computers in your head.
Yeah.
Do you remember how you felt when you first got the design brief for what these earbuds were supposed to do?
I think it's crazy.
Certainly the assembly is a really challenging part of this. All of these pieces have to go together with sub-millimeter precision. I don't think I would have imagined we'd be able to build things with this kind of processing power this small. There's a lot of sensors, processors, a little bit like building a ship in the bottle. What we've managed to do here is not just make great headphones, but really putting in all of the other things that are uniquely Google about this, the ability to process your voice and to make a call clear even when you're riding a bicycle down the sidewalk.
Yeah, okay.
A lot of software, a lot of machine learning. It's the magic that powers the product. It turns a great set of headphones into a Google set of headphones.
All right. That was a sneak peek at the all-new Google Pixel Buds. So you can start to get an idea of what ambient computing feels like. With Pixel Buds, help is there when you want it, and the experience just comes to you. even when your phone's not in your hand. For instance, you can get hands-free access to the assistant. So instead of turning to your phone for quick tasks, you can just say, "Hey, Google," and ask the assistant for whatever you need. Resume your podcast, send a quick text, get directions, or even understand another language with Google Translate. Pixel Buds even have a long-range Bluetooth connection, which keeps you connected even when your phone isn't by your side. So you can wear them in the yard when your phone might be charging inside, or leave your phone in a locker if you're working out in a gym. Indoors, Pixel Buds will stay connected up to 3 rooms away. And outside, they'll work across an entire football field. Of course, Pixel Buds won't be truly helpful unless they're also great headphones. They have to have excellent sound quality. They've got to be comfortable to wear all the time. And they need to last long enough to be useful. That's a lot to ask of a pair of headphones, especially because they also need to be unobtrusive too. So we did some intricate origami with Pixel Buds to make sure everything fit. Custom speakers, sensors, custom battery. That's usually what makes these wireless earbuds stick so far out of your ears. But Pixel Buds gives you plenty of battery life. You'll have 5 hours of continuous listening time on a single charge, and up to 24 hours when you're using a wireless charging case. Now, even with all those components and long battery life, you can see Pixel Buds fits almost flush with the ear. They're so small and light, it's easy to forget you're wearing them. At the same time, Pixel Buds deliver excellent sound quality. Now, you typically have to choose between great sound and awareness of the world around you. But Pixel Buds gives you both with a unique hybrid design. The earbuds gently seal the ear for rich bass and clear highs, and the spatial vent underneath reduces that plugged ear feeling and lets through just the right amount of environmental sound. On the software side, Pixel Buds respond to your surroundings with the new adaptive sound. The volume dynamically adjusts as you move from the quiet of your home to a subway or noisy cafe, and you don't have to constantly raise or lower the volume. When you're on a call, beam-forming mics focus on your voice, while voice accelerometers detect speech through your jawbone. So a loud restaurant or a windy day won't get in the way of your conversation. Pixel Buds will be available in the spring of next year, and we'll share more details in the coming months, including a few of the helpful experiences that make good use of the on-device machine learning chips. So as you can see, this ambient computing era is going to bring all kinds of new interfaces, services, and devices. But it's also introducing new challenges. When computing's always available, designing for security and privacy becomes more important than ever. You need to know that your data is safe. Protecting your data and respecting your privacy are at the core of everything we do. We've designed strong protections across our hardware family, like the Titan security chip in our phones and laptops. Titan protects your most personal on-device information, your OS data, passwords, even information in third-party apps. And we know that privacy is personal, which is why you have the controls so that you can choose the settings you want that are right for you. We make it easy to access simple on-off controls, including turning cameras and mics on your Nest devices off. And you can now delete assistant data just by asking. Everything is designed with your privacy in mind. And you'll see examples of that throughout today's presentation. Now, we're also going to talk today about our work to create more sustainable products and processes. Developing sustainable solutions to mass production and consumption is one of the biggest challenges we face today as an industry. It impacts all of us, and it will for generations to come. Now, we believe Google has both the ability and the responsibility to create systemic change. As a company, we've been focused on sustainability for a long time. Google's operations have been carbon neutral since 2007. And for the past 2 years, we've matched all of Google's energy consumption with 100% renewable energy. And we're continuing to expand access to clean energy to more people, including our suppliers and the communities where our products are made. So today, we're announcing that Google's committing to invest another $150 million in renewable energy projects in key manufacturing regions. Our investment alongside financial and manufacturing partners, aims to catalyze $1.5 billion of capital. Now, this will generate approximately the same amount of renewable energy as the electricity used to manufacture made by Google products. So when you choose to buy hardware products from Google, you're contributing to bringing renewable energy to communities around the world. Sustainable, secure and private, and of course, helpful. That's the Google way to make hardware and services. Now, we're excited to share with you how we build these principles into our products. And here's Ivy Ross, who leads our design team, who's going to talk about some of our recent work in responsible manufacturing and design.
Thanks, Rick. I'm happy to be back in New York to discuss our design philosophy at Google and tell you about a few things that we've been working on. I grew up not too far from here in the Bronx, and my dad was a designer, industrial designer too, and he worked for the legendary industrial designer Raymond Loewy on automobiles and a lot of other consumer goods. When I was little, he even made me my own little roadster. I can remember spending hours in his studio as a kid, tinkering with different tools and materials. And something I learned early on is that at its core, design is about solving problems for people. Whether you're designing a building, an automobile, packaging, or even a phone, the goal is to create unique solutions to the world's challenges. And sustainability is one of the fundamental challenges of our generation. You know, when you look at how most things are made today, it just doesn't make sense. In all too many cases, devices are manufactured with dirty energy from precious minerals and materials that are rapidly depleted, and with technology that becomes obsolete in a short time and then thrown away. Right now, we're truly looking at sustainability from every angle. For years, we've been pushing what's possible in design, manufacturing, and new materials. We've been able to include recycled plastics in products like Chromecast and the new Stadia controller. And today, I'm happy to share that all of our Nest products launching in 2019 include recycled plastics. Instead of these materials ending up in the ocean or in landfill, we're giving them a new life. We've designed and engineered the fabric on our Nest Mini speaker so it's made from 100% recycled plastic bottles. A single half-liter bottle produces enough textiles to cover more than 2 Nest Minis. And we didn't compromise on aesthetics or function. We created beautiful recycled fabrics in colors that blend into your home, while hitting the same rigorous technical and acoustical requirements. We continue to focus on products that empower people to reduce their own environmental impact as well. Our Nest team has been at the forefront of these efforts since 2011. And as of this month, Nest thermostats have helped consumers save more than 41 billion kilowatts hours of energy, enough to power all of Denver's electricity needs for 6 years. Rick just filled you in on our new renewable energy investment. And as of last month, Google is offsetting 100% of the carbon generated by our shipping partners for all customer orders. We have so much more to do, but by working with our suppliers, manufacturers on these initiatives, our goal is to clear the way for the entire industry and our planet to benefit. Another sustainability goal is simply reducing the amount of hardware you need to buy in the first place. What if you didn't need to upgrade a bulky new game console every few years? With Stadia, we're actually consolidating devices so the only hardware you need is a controller and a screen to play your games anywhere, anytime. To give people a great gaming experience, we designed the first cloud-based controller. You know, great design isn't just about how something looks, it's also about how it feels. And subtle design differences can have a profound effect. And we wanted the controller to be comfortable in the hands of all gamers. We found design inspiration in some unlikely places.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man.
Nice to meet you. Come on in.
All right.
When I go to these really nice kitchens, they all have these simple knives. Like, none of them look like the grocery store knives with all the grips and details. It's really uncomfortable if you rotate your hand around. The reason why most professional kitchens have knives like this is you can use it in many ways. So that was a starting point for the controller. We literally took a knife handle and we bent it. It's like, oh, like, we're on to something.
Yeah. Okay.
So from there, that one ancestor basically had hundreds and hundreds of kids. I kept building on it patiently until it became that. And it's made for small and large hands, so it's super usable for large segment of gamers that aren't always appreciated.
Jason was very, very insistent that we have a non-visible screw design.
Super important to give it that nice, clean look instead of punching a bunch of holes onto the back.
That was one of the biggest challenges for product design. We think it's really worth it. It makes it very comfortable in the hand and seamless and googly.
Oh, wow. That was impressive. Good work.
We worked with thousands of people playing hours and hours of games to test our controller against all of its limits. It needs to feel right for as many people as possible. Putting people at the center of our design is integral to our process and our principles. Whether it's hardware or software, creating truly helpful products for people starts with empathy. One of our earliest projects we tackled within Hardware Team was designing a new kind of laptop that could deliver performance and versatility in a truly beautiful form. We wanted to physically embody the speed and simplicity that people love about Chrome OS. The result was the original Pixelbook. The response was great. People really loved the award-winning design, the keyboard, and the speed. So over the past couple of years, we've been working really hard to bring that kind of experience to even more people at a more affordable price. I actually believe that you can be more creative when designing within constraints. So once again, we started with our users' needs, especially portability and battery life. We wanted to create a thin and light laptop that was really fast and also have it last all day. And of course, we wanted it to look and feel beautiful. We landed on Pixelbook Go. The design is so distinctive with an incredibly light magnesium that lets us create a very smooth matte finish in great colors. Pixelbook Go comes in just black and not pink, one of the iconic colors we introduced on Pixel 3. And we created a new rippled, wavy bottom that's easy to grip. Pixelbook Go is lighter than Pixelbook, but we still managed to add a battery that is 15% larger, making it easier to keep working all day. We also spent a lot of time making sure the keyboard is comfortable and quiet. We took all of our learnings from the original Pixelbook and really refined the design. We ended up with keys that feel great to use and are even quieter than the original. And with Chrome OS, Pixelbook Go is always fast, secure, and all your devices stay in sync with each other. Everything about Pixelbook Go is designed to address real user needs for an affordable price. You can pre-order it now in just black, with Not Pink coming soon. Next up, my colleague Rishi Chandra will tell you about the work we've been doing to make life at home a little easier. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm excited to give an update on Google Nest and our mission to create the helpful home. So last month, we launched Nest Hub Max, which is a great example of the power of ambient computing. See your photos come to life with a screen that automatically adjusts to your lighting conditions. Pause your music and videos with a simple hand gesture. And it automatically adjusts the information and controls based on your proximity to the device. At Nest, we want to put people first and build technology around their needs. Difference between just being smart and being truly helpful. So while the rest of the industry is focused on standalone devices, our focus is on building whole home solutions that bring together technology to provide real help for real homes. And the most important place to get this right is privacy. It's your home, the most personal private space in your life. So in May, we published a clear set of privacy commitments, which helps you understand how our technology works. Today, we want to share how these commitments extend beyond Google to our third-party ecosystem of partners. So we're announcing an update to our Works with Google Assistant program. We're working with partners to migrate their existing Works with Nest integrations that people know and love, but doing it built on a foundation of privacy and security. For example, we're requiring partners to pass a security review before they can even request access to your Nest devices. You should have confidence in how Google and its partners are protecting your home data. And then you can focus on instead the great benefits of the helpful home. For example, let's talk about home audio. It used to cost thousands of dollars in a professional installation if you wanted seamless audio throughout your home. Well, Google changed all that with the whole home audio solution that is simple, affordable, and sounds great. It started several years ago with the launch of Chromecast, making it easy to use your phone or your voice to play content on your favorite devices. And with Google Home Mini, home audio got even more affordable with a great sounding speaker with multi-room support. And with Nest Hub Max, you now have a home media control center right on your smart display. And it all works seamlessly together with Stream Transfer, where you can naturally move content around your home. So for example, I can start a playlist or watch a show on my Nest Hub Max in the kitchen. And when I'm done cooking, just say, hey Google, move this to the living room TV. And it'll pick up right where I left off. It's really easy. Now, for a lot of people, Google Home Mini was a perfect starter kit for your audio system. And today, we're introducing the next generation, Nest Mini. It's even more capable with the same affordable price point and the same iconic design. So let's start with the design. Colors really help Mini blend naturally into your home. And you now have a new color option called Sky. And as Ivy mentioned, all of our fabric is made from 100% recycled plastic bottles. Now, we also heard from you, you want a little more flexibility of where to place Mini. So we added a simple wall mount. It really looks great anywhere in your home. Now, the original Mini was designed to pack in great sound in a really small form. And with Nest Mini, you get even better quality sound. 2x stronger bass and even more clear and natural sound. And for those times when your home gets loud, like it does at mine, we added a third mic to hear you better in noisy environments. Nest Mini also got a really cool new superpower. There's a dedicated machine learning chip with up to 1 teraops of compute. So for the first time, core experiences of the Google Assistant can come from the data center and be moved instead to run locally on your device. Simply put, things are going to get a lot faster as it learns your family's most frequent commands. Finally, Nest Mini also powers an amazing home communication system. A home intercom, so you can talk room to room. A home alert system, telling you who's at the front door. A home phone, allowing you to call anyone in the world for free using Google Duo. I can even use my phone to call my Nest devices. It works great for those times I'm leaving work and I want to ask the family what they want for dinner. So that's the new Nest Mini, our next step in bringing seamless audio and communication to more homes around the world. Okay, now let's talk about home awareness. One of our core products is Nest Aware, which combined with our Nest Cams provides intelligent alerts and camera history. Now, lots of our users have multiple cameras, and we've heard from you that our Nest Aware pricing can get a little expensive and complicated. So today, we're announcing a new whole home pricing model. For 1 monthly rate, you get Nest Aware support across all your Nest devices in your home. So whether you have 2 cameras or you have 10 cameras, you pay the same monthly rate. And you can choose between 2 different pricing plans, depending on your needs. We even added more video history. The new Nest Aware will be rolling out early next year, and it'll be easy to switch over your existing plan. Now, as part of the new Nest Aware subscription, we're also unlocking the power of speakers and displays to be part of your home awareness system. So devices like Nest Mini or Nest Hub can be your ears when you're on the road or on vacation. We use on-device AI, sound detection AI, to pick up critical sounds like barking dogs or smoke and carbon monoxide alarms, and we send an alert to your phone. So now in one go, even those basic smoke alarms become smart smoke alarms. And when you get an alert, you have the option to hear the alert or listen live to confirm the alarm. Now, if it is an emergency, the home app can directly connect you to the 911 call center closest to you, regardless of where in the world you are. So in those critical moments, the last thing you want to do is scramble to find a local emergency dispatcher. Now, these notifications will be part of the new home app, which actually includes a new feature called the home feed. It brings together all the notifications and snippets from your devices, organizes them, and highlights the important stuff. So you can quickly see priority items, or you get a general recap of the day. So that's the new Nest Aware. More affordable, with more features and support for more devices. Okay, finally, let's talk about home connectivity. You can have the best home setup in the world, but it's nothing without great Wi-Fi coverage. That's why we launched Google Wi-Fi 3 years ago. And since launch, it has been the #1 selling mesh Wi-Fi system on the market. And in 2019, it is the top-selling router of any kind. And it's a router that actually gets better over time with automatic updates to add parental controls, improve performance, and enable Google's latest security features. Well, today, we're also updating the hardware with Nest Wi-Fi. Now, the Nest Wi-Fi system is actually 2 devices. The router plugs into your modem and creates a powerful home network. The point expands your coverage. Now, working together, they create a single strong Wi-Fi connection throughout your entire home. And our updated hardware and software delivers up to 2x the speed and up to 25% better coverage. So now, the Nest Wi-Fi system only needs 1 router and 1 point to cover around 85% of homes in the US. Now, we're also solving a common problem you find with routers today. Most of them get hidden in a closet or cabinet because, truthfully, they're pretty ugly, which reduces their signal intention by 50%. Nest Wi-Fi is designed to be out in the open, where it performs at its best, with the range of colors that will naturally blend into your home. And of course, it's really simple to use. With the Google Home app, you can set up your Nest Wi-Fi network in minutes, and once you're set up, it's easy to share your Wi-Fi password, manage your network, set a schedule for the kids, or create a guest network. Nest Wi-Fi also provides the foundation for your smart home connectivity. We're working with a growing list of partners to enable seamless setup in the Home app. And with support for BLE and Thread, we can talk to smart home devices locally, so you don't have to buy a separate hub. Stay tuned for even more partner announcements over the next few months. Lastly, we added a Google Assistant smart speaker to the Nest Wi-Fi point, so it does everything the Nest Mini does. Plays your music with great sound, provides answers to your questions, and lets you control smart devices with just your voice. So now you can broadcast a message to your kids that it's time for dinner. And if that doesn't work, try saying, "Hey Google, pause Wi-Fi for kids' devices." Pretty sure that'll work. So that's the new Nest Wi-Fi. Better coverage, smart home support, and the Google Assistant. It'll be available starting on November 4th. With new affordable home solutions for audio, awareness, and connectivity, everyone now can start building their own helpful home. Thank you.
Right now in Mountain View, it's 68 and sunny. Today, it'll be sunny with a forecasted high of 72 and a low of...
Hey Google, volume 10. Hey John, can you come here for a sec?
So you use this room to test?
Right, so we use this type of setting to really stress the microphones.
Okay.
Right now I'm talking to it this way, but sometimes our devices are higher and sometimes they're lower.
Because I might be down here.
Yeah, exactly. You know, because it's going to be in so many rooms, it's sort of a privilege to, you know, like, we got to get this right, you know. I come from a family of immigrants and they all have accents. And it's important for me to design products that, you know, my parents can use and that it works for everyone. At Google, like, everyone sort of has their slogan of like what their passion is. And on mine, it's actually be heard. It obviously goes into like the stuff that I work on, but also, you know, speaking up when things don't feel right. What this represents is an entire Google team's voice of, we got here because we work together.
You know what's kind of cool about that is when multiple voices come together to express sound in a coherent and beautiful way.
Yeah.
They call that harmony.
There you go. Harmony. With Wi-Fi.
Hi, I'm Sabrina from the Pixel team. Now let's talk about how Google's ambient computing vision comes to life when you're on the go. Pixel 4 introduces entirely new helpful experiences with more natural interactions. It's a completely redesigned with a new look, a new color, and a beautiful new finish. And Pixel 4 includes camera features and sensors that you're not going to find on any other phone. Let's start there. 5 years ago, our advanced technologies team began its project solely to investigate radar capabilities. Radar's been around for a long time, and it's still one of the best ways to sense motion. It's precise, low power, and it's fast. There were lots of exciting possibilities. But here's what our first sensor looked like when we started working on Solely. Radar sensors have always been way too big to fit in a phone, so we shrunk it down into a tiny chip. But that still wasn't small enough, so we had to shrink it down even more. Pixel 4 is the first smartphone with a radar sensor. It powers the new motion sense capabilities for more human interactions with your phone. For instance, Pixel 4 has the fastest secure face unlock on a smartphone because the process starts before you've even picked up your phone. Motion Sense prepares the camera when you reach for your Pixel 4, so you don't need to tap the screen. It's so much faster and smoother. Motion Sense can power down your phone when you walk away and turn it back on when you approach your phone. It also lets you control your Pixel with simple gestures. Swipe to skip a song, silence a call, wave hello to Pikachu. Working on a wide range of helpful new features, from gaming to personal wellness. Here's a quick look.
It's a very famous saying that any advanced technology becomes indistinguishable from magic. That's one of the things we talked about with Solly. It's a magical sensor.
I did it! I touched without touching!
Radar has a lot of very interesting properties that would be very useful for human-computer interaction. You can shrink it down.
All of this is now in there.
That's right, yeah. It can sense through materials. It's extremely sensitive for motion.
And so we built this new interaction paradigm based on the understanding of body language, distances, and gestures.
How can we make the language of interaction with technology closer to what we do naturally in the real world?
Then, of course, we really need to test to distinguish between intentional and unintentional gestures. Just because I wave on top of the device doesn't mean that I want to skip a song. If I pick up coffee cup, this gesture is very similar to a swipe. And this is really important. Then I can do this, and it actually works. With Solly, we can try to understand more about the implicit behavior that happen around the device.
The phone knows earlier what your intention is.
Exactly. Okay. Let's say the alarm goes off, really annoying. Yeah. As you reach, we can lower the volume. The phone is more polite, and then you can just do a gesture to shut it off. This moment of understanding each other happen all the time between us, but they never happen with technology. What we can do with radar is to actually capture aspects of non-verbal communication. And as a first step in Pixel 4 with motion sense is to get as close as possible to the intuitiveness of verbal interaction.
Silence.
Since the Solly sensor can detect the environment around Pixel 4, privacy had to be built in from the start. You can turn motion sense on or off at any time, and when it's on, all of the sensor's data is processed right on your Pixel. It's never saved or shared with other Google services. And motion sense isn't the only way we're making your phone interactions faster and more natural. The Google Assistant is now deeply integrated into Pixel 4's OS and across your apps. You can quickly open apps, search across your phone, share what's on your screen, and a lot more. The Assistant can simplify multitasking too, with a clean, new interface. Check this out. Just give Pixel 4 a quick squeeze. Show me Maggie Rogers on Twitter. What are her concert dates? Share this with Vivian. Reply, let's go see her. Open Ticketmaster.com. Search for Maggie Rogers events. A key way we're making the Assistant this fast is with an on-device version of our language models that run in our data center. So they can run locally right on your Pixel 4. This means the new Assistant uses a hybrid model. It can respond to many day-to-day requests on device, like starting a timer, while connecting for requests like, is my flight on time? You also have new ways to manage your data. Choose a time limit for how long you want your activity data to be saved in your Google account. Or just tell the Assistant to delete everything you said to it today or this week, and it will. You're in control. And you can get more details by asking, hey Google, how do you keep my data safe? We're taking the same care to protect your on-device data too. With Titan M and other security features, last year's Pixel 3 scored the highest for built-in security for a smartphone, according to Gartner. We've built Titan M into Pixel 4 as well to protect your most sensitive on-device data, like your passwords, your OS data, and now your face unlock model. Your phone has some of your most personal, private information, and we have a responsibility to keep it safe and secure. Now, how many of you have tried a voice recorder app? I know I've tried a few, thinking I'll be able to get organized by recording notes to myself, interesting lectures, important events. But then I end up with a bunch of untitled audio clips that I really don't know what to do with. So we created a new kind of audio recorder that taps into our speech recognition and AI. Let's see it in action. We've had a Pixel 4 recording the show for the past few minutes. As you can see, with one tap, I can get Recorder transcribing my words in real time as I'm saying them. Now, to show this is live, it is now 10:44, and it's pretty accurate. This means you can transcribe meetings, lectures, interviews, or anything you want to save. Eric backstage is going to save this recording, and now I can go into the search bar and find whatever I'm looking for. I can search for sounds, words, phrases. Let's see all the times I've mentioned pixel across my entire library of recordings. The places where the word pixel are said are highlighted in yellow in the playback bar, so you can dive into the exact part of the recording you're looking for. It's pretty cool. And you'll notice this phone is actually in airplane mode. All this recorder functionality happened on device. Now, I want to take a minute to talk about Pixel 4's OLED display. DisplayMate has awarded Pixel 4 XL their highest score, an A+ rating, together with a Best Smartphone Display award. In 5 key areas like color accuracy and image contrast, DisplayMate classified Pixel 4 XL's display as visually indistinguishable from perfect. Pixel 4 is also our first smartphone with a 90 Hz refresh rate. And we've added some smarts. The refresh rate adjusts on its own depending on what you are doing. So you get a great visual experience while still preserving battery life. Pixel 4 brings together so many helpful new technologies and capabilities. And you'll get the best Android experience with Android 10, and you're the first in line to get the latest OS updates and features. We also want to make sure you get the best experience out of the box. So Pixel 4 comes with 3 months of Google One for new eligible members. You get lots of premium features, including Pro Sessions for one-on-one virtual help. So if you have a question about your settings or want a few tips for the camera, we're there for you. The new Pixel comes in 3 colors: just black, clearly white, and a limited edition called Oh So Orange. It also comes in 2 sizes, both with the same features and both available for pre-order starting today. Shipping starts on October 24th. And we're excited that people will be able to find Pixel in even more places. We're expanding our carrier partnerships. So Pixel 4 is now available through every major US carrier. Now, we didn't forget about the camera. For the past 3 years, Pixel set the standard for smartphone cameras with incredible capabilities like HDR Plus, Super Res Zoom, Top Shot, and of course, Night Sight. With Pixel 4, we're raising that bar yet again. And it all starts with this little square, basically a miniaturized camera rig right on the back of your phone. You can see the rear wide and telephoto cameras, a hyperspectral sensor, a mic for your videos and Instagram stories, and a flash that we hope you'll use mostly as a flashlight. But it's there just in case. But the hardware isn't what makes our camera so much better. The special sauce that makes our Pixel camera unique is our computational photography. And who better to talk about it than Professor Mark Lavoie from Google Research.
Thanks, Sabrina. It's great to be here. There's a saying among photographers that what's important to taking a great picture is, in order, subject, lighting, lens, and the camera body. It's their way of saying that it doesn't matter which SLR body you use unless you get the first 3 elements right. Well, here's a slightly different take on this list: subject, lighting, lens, software. So, by software, I mean computational photography. So what does that mean? It means doing less with hardwired circuitry and more with code. I like to call it a software-defined camera. It typically means capturing and combining multiple pictures to make a single better picture. One version of this is Hdr Plus, the technology we've used for taking photos on every Pixel phone. When you tap the shutter button, we capture a burst of up to 9 pictures. These pictures are deliberately underexposed to avoid blowing out highlights. We align them using software and average them, which reduces noise in the shadows. This lets us brighten the shadows, giving you detail in both the highlights and the shadows. In fact, there's a simple formula. Noise goes down as the square root of the number of images you average together. So if you use 9 images, you get 1/3 as much noise. This isn't mad science, it's just simple physics. By the way, on the left is our raw output if you enable that in the app. There's something else about this list. It says the lens is important, without quibbling about the order on the list. Some subjects are farther away than you'd like, so it does help telephoto shots to have a telephoto lens. So Pixel 4 has a roughly 2x telephoto lens plus our super res zoom technology. In other words, a hybrid of optical and digital zoom, which we use on both the main and telephoto lenses, so you get sharp imagery throughout the zoom range. Here's an example. You probably think this is a 1x photo. It's not. It's a zoom taken from way back here. By the way, super res zoom is real multi-frame super resolution, meaning that pinch zooming before you take the shot gives you a sharper photo than cropping afterwards. So don't crop like this. Compose the shot you want by pinch zooming. Also, by the way, most popular SLR lenses do magnify scenes, not shrink them. So while wide angle can be fun, we think telephoto is more important. So what new computational photography features are we launching with Pixel 4? 4 of them. First, Live HDR Plus. Everyone here is familiar with HDR Plus's signature look and its ability to capture extreme brights and darks in a way that looks crisp and natural. But even phones with good HDR solutions can't compute them in real time, so the viewfinder often looks different from the final image. In this example, the window is blown out on the viewfinder, which might tempt you into fiddling with the exposure. This year, we're using machine learning to approximate HDR Plus in the viewfinder, so you get our signature look while you compose your shot. We call this feature Live HDR Plus. So the industry's most successful HDR solution is now real-time and WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. Now, if we have an intrinsically HDR camera, we should have HDR controls for it. So Pixel 4 has dual exposure controls. Here's an example. This is a nice HDR Plus shot, but maybe you would like to try it as a silhouette. So you tap on the screen and lower the brightness slider a bit. That mainly changes the capture exposure. Then you lower the shadows slider a lot. That mainly changes the tone mapping. And voila, you get a different artistic vision. Try doing that with any other cell phone. So, separate sliders for brightness and shadows while you compose your shot. It's a different way of thinking about controlling exposure in a camera. Second, white balancing in photography is a hard problem. Mathematicians call it an ill-posed problem. Is this snow blue the way this SLR originally captured it? Or is it white snow illuminated by a blue sky? We know that snow is white. With enough training, so can the camera. We've been using learning-based white balancing in night sight since Pixel 3. In Pixel 4, we're using it in all photo modes. So you get truer colors especially in tricky lighting. Here's a tough case, an ice cave. It's blue light, but not a blue person. And here's what it looks like with Pixel 4's white balancing. Third, we've continued to improve portrait mode. With our dual pixel or split pixel technology, we've always been good at portraits and at macro shots. This year, we're computing depth, again using machine learning, from both dual pixels and dual cameras, which gives us accurate depth farther from the camera. This extends portrait mode to large objects and stand further back portraits. We also have a luscious new SLR-like bokeh. That's the shape of the blur. Look at the lights on either side of her head. We're doing better on hair and dog fur, which are hard. And of course, we still do great selfie portraits. Fourth and last, we have continued to improve night sight in many ways and extended it to a use case that has always been sort of a holy grail for me. You could have taken this dusk shot using Pixel 3 last year. Using Pixel 4, you can take this nighttime picture from the same viewpoint. In the year since we launched it, night sight has been called everything from fake to sorcery. Well, it's neither. Think back to the mathematics that I explained at the beginning. Astrophotography is about taking longer exposures and more of them, up to 16 seconds times 15 exposures. That's 4 minutes, but it's a single shutter press and it's fully automatic. By the way, you can't do this with a single long exposure. In 4 minutes, the stars do move and trees wave in the wind. So you need robust alignment and merging of multiple pictures. And for a 4-minute exposure, we do recommend a tripod, or you can prop your phone on a rock. Is there machine learning? Yes. Machine learning? Yes. We use it for white balancing, as I mentioned. We also use semantic segmentation in all our photo modes, and have for years, to brighten faces in Hdr Plus, a feature we call synthetic fill flash, to separate foregrounds from backgrounds in portrait shots, and to darken and denoise skies in night sight. Is there computational photography? There's lots of that too. Digital sensors are prone to hot pixels that are stuck at red, green, or blue. The longer the exposure, the more hot pixels. Our exposures are pretty long, so we need some clever algorithms to remove those hot pixels. By the way, that's our Astro Photography field testing team. And yes, they sat still for a long time for this shot. So where does this game stop? What can't we capture using Pixel 4? Well, we can capture the moon, which, by the way, required some fiddling with those dual exposure controls I told you about. And we can capture a moonlit landscape. This is not daytime, it's the middle of the night, and the landscape is illuminated only by the moon. See the stars? But what we can't do, including on Pixel 4 today, is capture both at once in the same picture. The problem here is that the moon is blown out and the marin headlands at the bottom are just a silhouette. The dynamic range, the difference in brightness between a full moon and a moonlit landscape is 19 f-stops. That's 19 doublings, about 500,000 times brighter, way beyond the range of any consumer camera, even an SLR. So is this scene forever impossible with a cell phone? Remember what I said at the beginning about software-defined camera? Pixel is committed to making its cameras better with software updates. So stay tuned on this one. To sum up, 4 new computational photography features. Live Hdr Plus with dual exposure controls, learning-based white balancing, wider range portrait mode with an SLR bokeh, and night sight with Astro Photography. Oh, and remember, you can use night sight for many things besides stars. Many things. So go out there and be creative with Pixel 4. Now, it's my honor to introduce one of my favorite artists, who has spent her career creating some of the most memorable photographs of the last 50 years. 12 months ago, we gave her a Pixel, and she's taken it all over the country to build a new collection of portraits. She also gives us suggestions and candid feedback, which we've taken to heart in the tuning of the Pixel 4 camera. So please welcome my friend Annie Leibowitz, along with our own Lily Lin.
Thank you, Mark. Hi, Annie. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Mark. This is an extraordinary opportunity that Google gave me, and I've always been interested in the camera phone and what it could do and what its potential was. And Google came to me and said, "We'd like to support you in some sort of artistic endeavor." And we thought of this project, and I mean, it's obvious what's interesting about a camera phone. I mean, it's is you can carry it in your pocket, for example. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's great. I know that you've been using the camera for over a year now to shoot a collection of photographs, some of which we're seeing the behind the scenes here. Can you tell us more about the project?
Well, we started really with the Pixel 3, and I was very suspicious and very careful with it, and it really became an exercise in light and composition and content, and then when the Pixel 4 came along, I was kind of very impressed about how I relaxed with it and just glided with it and used it and really just enjoyed taking pictures. I'm really towards the end of, I mean, we're going to be doing more work, but towards the end of the work that we were doing, I felt like I was just beginning to sort of get it. And I just let the camera do the work, quite honestly, and really enjoyed myself. But the project, the people, I mean,
some of which we have here today, Nor and Chase and Idris.
Nor and Chase, it's incredible. I mean, the people made the project. I mean, we really turned to people who care and people who matter and people who are doing things that give us hope, and across the board. And every single person that we photographed is doing something that they care about what they're doing, and they represent great parts of us who are getting on with it.
Change makers, I think, is what I've heard you call them, true change makers around the country. So you've been traveling, speaking of country, traveling across the country, shooting these amazing subjects.
When Google first came to me, they sort of totally seduced me by saying, "Would you like to drive across the country?" And then and that turned into, of course, going back to people. So.
Yeah.
I don't know if you see what I did was I decided to take 2 photographs to create a portrait, and because it's hard to say what you want to say about a person, especially these extraordinary people, in one picture. And so I made it a diptych and took two photographs. For example, with Sarah Zorn from the Citadel, there's a photograph of her almost on graduation day in her uniform, but next to her is a photograph of the boots she wore for 4 years, every single day. So.
Well, so I have to ask, I'm so curious, because you have access to the world's best camera equipment. So how is it different with this project, just having what you have in your pocket now? What was that experience like?
Well, I've been using, like everyone else, camera phones for a while, and the whole idea was, can you use it to go out and do work as a photographer? And I was dying for this opportunity, to be given this opportunity by Google to sort of develop, the camera phone for a photographer and how to use it. And as I said before, it was a little bit of a rough start, and then I just relaxed, and I really totally enjoyed myself. One of the last shoots with Meg, the soccer player, it really felt like we were just floating. I mean, she was really a beautiful, anyway, she was just a beautiful muse, and I took these photographs that I wasn't really thinking about the camera or thinking, just really composing, and the light was beautiful, and she had that red shock of hair, and
it's great.
It was great.
That's great. Well, so before we go, since I have you, I have to ask, what pro tips do you have for all of us here who want to take beautiful images like this with the phone in your pocket?
Oh, it's all inside you. I mean, you just go out and you do it. It's all there. I think what's great about the camera phone. I mean, my children use this camera, and I mean, we all are using this camera, and it's a brand new language. And if you want to do something more specific, then you may fall into another category, and you're a photographer. But it's just really great that this is available for everyone to use.
The democratization of photography is what I've heard you call it. So
I think it's great.
Thank you so much, and thank you. I wish we had more time, but I know you, as well as Nor, Chase, Idris, are going to be sticking around. So thank you for that. Thanks for joining us on stage. And guys, Annie Leibowitz.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Annie. It's an amazing project. We're all huge fans. That was awesome. Well, as you've seen today, our vision for ambient computing is to create a single, consistent experience across your home, your work, and on the go. It's available anywhere you want it, whenever you need it. With the introduction of our new Pixel phone, Pixel Buds, Pixelbook Go, Nest Mini, Nest Wi-Fi, we're taking a big step towards this vision, with much more to come. Now, we couldn't get to all the product experiences today, so if you're here with us in New York, there'll be a lot more product details to see upstairs in person. And for those on the live stream, please go to the Google Store online, see a lot more. Thanks so much for joining us today, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Okay, we're back from live coverage of the Made by Google event in New York City. It's Brian Cooley with Lexy Savvides, and we've got a big team in New York at the Shed at Hudson Yards. They're covering this, and we've got things to show you now that we can unveil formally that have just come out at the event. I guess we got to start with the phone, which we kind of just ended with.
Yeah, we did. So I was surprised that Google kind of left the most interesting thing until last. And we obviously heard a lot about what we were going to expect from the Pixel 4. The camera stuff was incredibly interesting. However, I feel like Google's claim that, so the Pixel 4 only has 2 cameras at the back, a regular wide and a telephoto, because they think that, they claim to think that a telephoto is more important than an ultra-wide-angle lens, when all of the competition has pretty much moved to at least 3 cameras and ultra-wide. So I'm really intrigued to see how this camera is going to perform. Some of those shots looked amazing, but anyway,
what we don't know is how wide is their standard lens. They may have a wide enough angle of view that it's closer to an ultra-wide, and then they computationally pick up with the 2x optical lens, which is the other lens, and then computationally, as they said, their pinch to zoom and then capture is different than post-capture crop, which a lot of other phones, I don't think in history, have had that difference. So they're really doing a thing where you should pinch to zoom first, not crop it later. You'll get a much better result.
Yeah, interesting. And also, I am disappointed that Google didn't say anything about video capture, because that's being the Pixel's big weak point, especially compared to the iPhone, especially compared to other Android phones.
There was nothing about video.
Nothing about video. Last year, I remember the Pixel 3, they made a big to-do about how it was improved. And so I'm kind of disappointed at that. But maybe they were just kind of teasing. And so there's going to be a lot left to, discover once we get our hands on the phone. But we know someone that did get their hands on the phone and has had some experience with it, which is Patrick Holland, who got a first look at the new Pixel 4. And I think we have the video we can play. You're not going to play the whole video?
Last time they all complained that I played it.
Oh, okay. Well, then we can play. All right,
let's take a look at some
of the
visuals on Pixel 4 while we continue to talk about its imaging ability. They did talk about live HDR Plus. I thought that was going to be a video capture HDR Plus, but it's a viewfinder live. So it doesn't address video either. What they also talked about, and they didn't say what this was, a hyperspectral sensor. What the hell is that? That's also packaged in the square bump with the lenses. I don't know. I guess it's a depth sensor. But I don't know. They didn't go into it.
I think it might have something to do with the sensitivity for the Astro Photography feature, potentially.
Maybe. Don't know.
Yeah.
They didn't say.
We'll
so they talked a lot about the fact that they are doing so much machine learning and so much of the processing of what the lenses capture as their distinguishing feature from the actual hardware, sensors, and the lenses in front of it. That's been the Google story. The other big part, aside from the photography, and again, we saw an awful lot of this. You saw a number of photos with us. This Astro Photography mode. Looks very impressive.
It does. I can't wait to try it out.
Yeah.
This one is something that I think will set it apart from the competition. But everything else, I mean, I feel like a lot of it was quite built towards photography geeks, perhaps like myself, and in terms of everyday consumers.
Once you get into astrophotography, you're into geek mode anyway.
Yeah, I don't think many people are going to be out there, taking photos from the maroon headlands like they were on the Golden Gate Bridge and the night stars.
They did show that iconic shot that you're mentioning, and they did say that even this we can't do a good job of yet, which is an interesting thing to have at an event. They said the shot with the moon in the background, an unlit piece of land in the foreground, that is 19 stops of variation. Nothing can do that. I mean, you're blown away by a 13 or 14 stop camera today. That's like black magic or a red camera. So they say, but stand by. Software updates may get us to capture a 19-stop variation in dynamic range sometime in the future. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, and I think Google has traditionally been pretty good at kind of making sure that the software, they've got the hardware base there and then giving iterative updates to give certain features.
We just saw the square bump there, which will have the 2 cameras, spectral sensor, microphone, and flash.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the actual look of the phone, no real surprises there. The bezels are, still there, still kind of chunky. It looks like a Pixel phone.
Yeah, phones have stopped looking very different to most consumers. They get it, but now they know they at least detect that there's a package on the back of sensors. That's become the new thing, and Apple, of course, calls theirs out as circles, and these are kind of hidden in a window. The other thing that was interesting, beyond the photography, all of which I'd say was evolutionary, not revolutionary.
Agree.
The revolutionary part, though, is their formal announcement that Soli, no longer called Project Soli, it's now a baked-in millimeter wave radar sensor at the front of the phone that can pick up when you're around it, what you're doing to the phone, even before you pick it up. And then once you do pick it up, new, apparently, much more nuanced gesture controls that allow you to do smaller movements that are more discrete and distinct, and also to filter out movements like picking up a coffee cup near the phone should not turn the volume down, should not mute a call, which is a tough thing to tease apart when there's lots of ambient gesture noise. So I'll be really intrigued to see if that is going to be a gimmick like most gesture, or have they really cracked the code on gesture that is, to use the overused word, it's really smart.
Yeah, the proof is going to be in the actual using it. And at the moment, I'm not sure of the personal use case, for me at least, of gesture control to, say, change tracks, mute a call. I mean, we've seen similar based gesture control, say, on the Galaxy Note 10 with the S Pen that does have gesture control. A little gimmicky, to be honest. It's kind of cool that it's there, but I think the real applications are going to be perhaps in the next generation. So this is just laying the groundwork for potential future use cases that we haven't even thought of. $799 for the Pixel 4. before. And here's the big thing that might actually give a bit of a boost to Google, given that previously the Pixel wasn't only available through Google's own store and Verizon. Now it's across all carriers. And I think this is a big jump for Google, and it's a big, I guess an achievement, really, because you tried to find a Pixel before and you'd had to be in the know. Whereas now you can go to a store potentially and be able to try it hands-on.
And I think in our crowd, we often forget that a lot of people learn about phones at phone stores.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just us that follow
Makes no
all these
sense to
keynotes.
me, but or you.
Yeah, but I mean, this is how many people find out stuff, is that hands-on through those experiences. And if you weren't on Verizon, you just wouldn't have had the opportunity to have a hands-on with a Pixel.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have seen them advertising Pixel, which is also another big part of it, is they have enormous ad budgets at the carriers, and they will make a phone a hit once they've committed to it, in store and online, in a way that only 3 out of 4 were not helping this company. And some of the most recent stats on Pixel, some of the market research shows that it's crept up to be the number 3 selling family of phones recently in the U.S., which is pretty good. It's about as high as it's ever gotten, of course. I mean, Apple and Samsung just take over the top. They take the air out of the room. But it's key for them to not end up in that niche category forever, where this continues to be an experimental showcase for them. They're past that point now. It's no longer just showing the best of Android, but it's also not anywhere near the 2 giant players in the market.
No Pixel Watch. Disappointed, but I guess we weren't expecting that. But Pixel Buds, we did get the Pixel Buds. Now, these ones are intriguing. It's going to be very hard not to draw parallels with the AirPods. Regardless of, yes, of course, if you are on Apple's ecosystem, you're more likely to choose the AirPods. And if you're on Android, you're probably not going to have AirPods. Of course, they do work. But, you know, the real flexibility with the AirPods is that chip, the H1 chip, that gives you that instant connection.
Yeah.
With the Pixel Buds, totally wireless. They work with the Google Assistant, of course, with tight integration. They have a supposedly very long-range Bluetooth. So they said that, they can last the length of a football field. However, this isn't really that big of a deal, because other wireless headphones, we've done our own informal testing. If you've watched any of our Versus videos with wireless buds, they do make it like almost like 3/4 to almost the length of a football field. And that's with the AirPods and other things like that. So it's not a huge deal, I don't think.
No, and I think you're getting into a use case that's unusual. I need a room worth of distance. I'm never that far from my phone.
Exactly.
You know, that's getting to be an edge case.
It is.
So to have a really solid 25-foot performance impresses me more than to have, open air in the perfect conditions.
Exactly.
I can do 100 yards.
Yeah.
That's not that important to me. But it's interesting how they had this constant theme, as do many in the industry, of saying we're decoupling devices in some cases from their excessive tethering to the phone.
Exactly.
And so they did that here with long-range connectivity, but also, more importantly, through many of their products with onboard processing that does not require a cloud connection. And that's a really big deal.
It is, and we saw that as well with the voice transcription on the Pixel 4. You know, I mean, this is sort of it's the same kind of principle, essentially, that live transcribe. You can be in, they had it in airplane mode, essentially, and you could see the live transcription of the speech as you were recording it, which was kind of neat. I thought, especially, you know, as journalists, we use voice recording a lot, and so personally, that's very interesting to me. As for most people that are not like us, I don't know how useful that will be, but on device, which is good. And again, with all of the other voice equipped systems in terms of the assistant and personalization from the Nest Mini. I had to look at the product page because I'm so confused about what they're calling these products. Okay, the Google Nest Mini, the 2nd generation, again, they have like on-device processing, so it doesn't... Now, this was more to do with speed, however. This wasn't necessarily about privacy and personalization. In this case, this was very much about, we want to make sure that it's faster, it's more responsive to what you need. And, you know, so we saw the Nest Mini. It looks the same as the 1st gen. Let's be honest.
Colors,
no surprises
blah, blah, blah.
there.
Yeah, a bunch of colors that don't make sense in anyone's house. I don't understand that. Does anyone paint their house peach? Does that really work with your decor? And yet we have these bizarre colors that belong on the outside of a car, and yet those are considered home colors. Neutral, guys, neutral.
But Brian, it's made out of 100% recycled plastic bottles.
Everything is.
Everything.
Now. Everything
is. 100%.
Is.
That was
and yet, what's going to happen when we stop using so many plastic bottles? What are they going to make things out of?
Oh, no. But
we got to keep using those one-time plastic bottles. Kidding. Don't tweet it.
No, they're going to recycle the old ones. Anyway.
Right. Well, we'll start recycling home minis into new minis. Yeah,
exactly.
The mini is interesting, Lexy, because we had, aside from what you're, the key thing you're underlining, which is that onboard processing for speed, they also talked about this, playing some catch-up here with Alexa. It can listen for and detect, I think, glass breakage, fire alarm, burglar alarm, and then alert you, hey, I hear this going on. Do you want to listen in right now and decide what to do about it? Now, Alexa's had that, I think, for a few months in the most recent software update. So there's a game of catch-up there for sure. The other thing here, on a completely less strategic basis, is thank you. They finally include a wall mount. I had to make my own wall mount for Google Minis for the several that we've had for over a year now, and I've devised all kinds of stuff, and it makes me nuts. Always include a wall mount. Just because things can sit on a counter, everything sits on a counter now. We need to get them off the counter because there's too much clutter. And home intercom functionality, phone calling via Duo, not too dramatic there, and the usual 2 times better bass and better sound. Well, that's all relative.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Nest Wi-Fi as well. So this is one of those products that I think is going to be the sleeper hit. You know, I think this is the one that you do. Routers inherently and mesh networking is not sexy, and it's not something that you really think about as kind of like, well, at least I don't, as a fundamental like, oh, I want to make sure that it looks good, it works. It's one of those things that I think you're going to have in your home, and it's just going to be, it does its job well. And it's going to be one of those things that you go, I'm glad with that purchase.
Yeah, I don't want to look at it, to be honest. They've made it attractive, so you're going to have it out where it'll have better signal propagation. So that's a win, because no one wants to put a router where it should be, which is usually in the middle of your house, in an open plan house that's probably smack in between the kitchen and the family room. That's your typical layout. Nobody wants a Netgear router sitting there with its damn antennas and its ugly black plastic. But in this case, they're trying to go after that, saying when you accept it visually, then we can do our wireless job. They say 50% better. The problem is I don't want to look at a router at all because the aesthetic is trying to make me accept its wireless limitations. Bad, bad, bad. Make it all go away. This is where I still want the smart home industry long-term to be working with the home builder industry, and let's put commercial-class Wi-Fi into homes from the ground up, like Lennar Homes does, for example, when you buy a new home. This is a stopgap measure. I don't think long-term we ever want to have routers on the table, even if they do include speakers, like this does now, Google Home Assistant, better audio, mesh, blah, blah, blah. Ultimately, make the router go away. There's no intrinsic value in me seeing and having presence of the router.
So overall, I feel like with this event, it's one of those things that I think Google underwhelms us with the presentation. And I think when we actually get to see these products and have them in hand, I think we will be much more excited about them. And I think it's, they definitely, what's that expression? They'd rather under-promise and over-deliver.
Yeah.
I absolutely feel that way about this event because there's so many things that I'm going, okay, well, wasn't that exciting. And we didn't hear anything about the battery on the Pixel 4. We heard a little bit about the screen and 90 hertz, obviously, which is good. And I'm excited to try that out. But I feel like there's a lot of questions that were left unanswered. And, and I think that can potentially be a good thing. Or it could also be a bad thing. Maybe it means that the battery life is not very good. I don't know. We're going to just wait and see, I think. But hopefully it is a situation of they're under-promising, over-delivering.
That's a big question in the chat room. What's the battery life?
Yeah.
Well,
these guys know that it's suicide to go anywhere but lateral. So it's at least as good. You would never go down. You're done.
No, but the Pixel 3 battery was not good. And it is not good, especially once you've come from I've come from a 2XL and gone to a 3, and you just realize that, it just doesn't, obviously it's a different capacity battery. I understand that. But in terms of just eking out the most from that battery, I don't know. I think there's a lot of work there to be done.
God, it's been so long since I even expected a phone to go a day without a charge. I rarely even think about charge. To me, it's it's a frequently plugged-in device.
It is a frequently plugged in. But if you're a heavy user, this is
that's why, because I'm a heavy user. I've got chargers everywhere, like most of us do, and I don't normally geek out about the charge. To me, all-day battery life is a copy point. It's not reality. I know for a lot of people it can be, but I haven't been there in years. Wow. It just doesn't happen. Any phone. I've had phones with Gigunda batteries.
Gigunda.
It's like, okay, I'm the guy that gets 6 hours life out of a 24-hour battery. It's just me, I guess.
What are you doing?
I don't know, using the damn phone. It's just strange. It's just really strange. So I don't know. I've got a blind spot on that apparently. The other thing I just wanted to mention, this came and went in a blink, is Pixelbook Go.
Yes.
$649 pre-orders now. The headline on that, the headlines were pretty simple. 13 millimeters, that's half an inch thin. Real interesting, grippable, deeply ribbed exterior, as opposed to the sleek, smooth exterior that we see on everything. 12-hour battery and very quiet keys.
Excellent. Well, I'm very excited about this.
You are?
No, I'm
No.
not.
I'm gonna say, really?
No. Unfortunately, not. I mean, again, I will reserve judgment until I've actually used it. But I was exclaiming during the keynote. It's called the Pixelbook Go. It sounds like the Surface Book Go.
That's a Go, isn't it?
Why is it a Go? Why can't we have a different? There's more words in the English language that need to be used rather than Max, Pro, Go. Like all of these like action words and big words. Just call it something else. Seriously.
Well, at least they do better than car makers and don't call everything by a number that you can't figure out. I mean, I guess that's an improvement. I don't know. Let's see. So I think we've covered everything that we want. The last thing, I think, relating to Nest, which is increasingly becoming a Nest brand story. We've been talking about how the naming has been messy, but they're Nest branding things more that have to do with home, was the Nest Aware plan. Is now $6 or $12 a month. As of early 2020, it will include all of the connected devices in your home. So it's for a whole home plan, and it's going to have the ability to pick up alerts, either video or audio alerts that it's captured, filter out the ones that are routine, so make sure they're truly alerts, and then give you a look, I think, in the Google Home app of only things that have mattered around your house that it's picked up from its various sensors. So they're trying to really congeal that into a less noisy, less expensive proposition is how I read that, which is good, but I think it's a nuanced story to a lot of homeowners. They're going to say, okay, what does this do and why do I need it? Because it is a new category of service. Most people don't have anything like this that they're trying to get a better version of. This is a new thing in most people's lives.
So overall, which product was the one that you were most excited about?
Oh, it's Pixel 4, and I'm way more interested in solely radar than you are.
Yes.
I find the gesture radar technology interesting because I know eventually that also becomes a physical biosensor. The automakers are working on making this a way to read your carotid artery to pick up pulse and also watch your chest movements to pick up respiration while you drive. It's that accurate. A bunch of startups are doing that as well.
Wow.
So I see next gen, that becomes a non-wearable fitness band that can pick up a pulse rate. I don't know about blood pressure. That seems like a bridge too far. But maybe respiration and other types of ambient things that I do. I'm really big on the idea that the future of interaction is being, not clicking, touching, swiping, or speaking. Being throws off so much stuff. We have yet to see anything about gaze detection. I'll be intrigued to see what Apple can do when and if they have some kind of an AR glass technology. Can they put something on that we actually want to wear? And once they do, we can pick up gaze. Gaze remains one of the holy grails along with brainwave to really get into being able to pick up what we want to do without we having to express it. I'm so big on that idea. So I'm big on camera and gesture in the phone. That's my big takeaway. Yours?
Camera, absolutely. Love the developments there. And again, I think that it's going to be one of those things that, you know, the Pixel has always been incredibly strong at helping anybody take a really good looking photo without too much thought. So I also love that there is a lot in the back end there for people like me who like to adjust settings, tweak shadows and highlights in, you know, the live mode, which I really like. The Pixel Buds for me was actually the most intriguing thing.
Okay.
However, spring 2020, there was a release date, right? $179.
Price is still high.
It is high compared to
$50 above Amazon.
Yeah, but again, though, I don't necessarily know if it's the same target market. So the thing is, I feel like these are going to be very niche. They obviously have a lot of similar design cues to many of the other buds that we have.
Yeah.
But I feel like they're really late to the game for wireless buds. Really late to the game, especially given that, you know, there's rumors about a supposed AirPods 3 with noise cancellation on board, with a new in-ear design, with better battery life, etc.
Yeah, that.
So it's going to be an interesting battle. Even though obviously if you're an Apple, you're probably going to choose AirPods, and if you're an Android, you're probably going to choose Pixel or something else.
Sure, yeah.
You know, still, you cannot not compare them to what's currently out there.
Yeah, you've really got an Amazon. You've got the audio companies like Bose, which are pretty simple. They're doing mostly audio processing for quality of sound. Then you've got Amazon, Apple, Google is another set of the smarter types of products. And then you've got a whole range of startups out there that are still coming that I think we'll see a lot of at CES that are trying to have really smart adaptive sound. Google talked about that. smartly filtering sound around you for a good listen through, but not too much, and always working against the noise and volume level around you. That's like adaptive audio in a car. They've had that for 20 years in cars, right? What I saw was missing here, if I got it right, no active noise cancellation.
Yes. Well, I mean, obviously passive noise cancellation because of the in-ear
Not
design,
interesting.
but it's not
Not
active.
interesting.
Yeah. No,
and
it's not.
translation, I don't think most people care.
No.
Most people do not travel the world and need real-time voice translation. We'd like to think we all do, but to be honest, I don't think that's nearly as big a use case as people wanting noise cancellations. I think they're leaning on the wrong thing here.
I agree. I mean, look, everyone wants the babblefish, right? Really,
Sure.
in their ear, but
Yeah.
I mean,
It reads well.
It's not, yeah, but it's not at the stage where it is in science fiction yet.
Now,
And
look
so,
at the number of
yeah.
people on any airplane who've got noise-canceling headphones, and look at the number on any airplane who have a translation app open at the time. It's not a perfect parallel, but noise cancellation is gold, and it's not in there yet. And that I think that's a major setback for the Pixel Buds, along with the price.
And the
$179 is
price, we'll
premium.
see. It is premium, so we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see.
Okay, well, we got a good dose of Made by Google. Thank you for being with us. And we'll digest a lot of this as we speak. The coverage and additional videos and our early takes and things we can now unveil are waiting for you at CNET. So until our next event, thanks, Lexi.
Thanks, Brian.
It was fun. See you guys later. Thanks for watching.